estate when I was 18 and worked with him for a few years, and that was my business education very quickly. And I graduated from Cap University from the jazz program, and I'm happy to say that now I'm able to use both my business education from Matt and also be able to work on music, which is my passion as well, and be able to combine both of those. So the first business I started was actually doing bass lessons. I started hiring a few instructors, and slowly we grew into quite a few instructors. So now we have about 15 teachers, and our brand is called Organic Music Lessons. There is a story behind the name, and I'll get to it in a few minutes. But basically, here's like a few fun facts. We have over 15 instructors who teach voice, piano, guitar, bass, drums, horns. We have songwriting classes, as well as introduction to music business. Our instructors, they provide personalized music lessons. So students come in and we're able to really tailor it to what they're looking to learn. And artists who've worked with us have gone on to play in the Junos, Kimmel Show, Today Show, and Much Music, as well as artists we work with have performed with Selena Gomez, Kanon, Sean Hook, Vancouver Symphony Orchestra, Vanessa Hudgens, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on, Chicago, et cetera. And so yeah, here's a few photos from recent events. I think this one here was from the weekend from the Commercial Drive Car Free Day. We sponsored a kiosk there, and as 100,000 people passed by, a few of them stopped by, and we were able to teach some children music, and also have adults come by and youth as well. And then over here is Carnival del Sol. We're hanging out, we're playing some Latin rhythms at Carnival del Sol. Here I believe is Laura Secord Elementary. We do a lot of work with the different public schools in North Vancouver as well as in Vancouver. Not as much in West Vancouver yet, but I believe we'll get there as well. And as well here, Lynn Valley Days, and oh yeah, this one here, that was quite fun. When Bryan Adams came to town to Rogers Arena, we had the opportunity to be outside of Rogers Arena as everybody was coming into the stadium, and be teaching some Bryan Adams songs. So that was really fun, and we were able to work with LG 104.3 on that. And so that's a little bit, some fun facts, things we're doing in the community. Originally started the music school, Organic Music, as a career training program. When I graduated from Cap University from the jazz program, I was like, why are all my friends who are amazing musicians, now they're working at Starbucks as a barista, they're working as stocking shelves at Save On Foods. I was like, these guys, they really got to get on stage, and how can I help them do that? So we now, over quite a while now, we've been putting together career training programs, basically to take artists from where they are to be able to make it possible for them to have a career in music. So that's a little bit about that there. We have our recreational classes for children, youth, and adults. Like I was saying here, piano, guitar, voice, drums, violin, bass, songwriting, brass and woodwinds. And now we have a small demo recording studio as well, which is a lot of fun. We're able to bring in artists that maybe aren't quite there yet, and we're able to work with them, bring in a sound engineer, and help them record great demos, and then work with them on grant writing to both get their album off the ground, get them branded well, and ready for playing shows, and also helping them get that grant touring money. So that's a little bit about our recreational classes. Public school programs for secondary schools. We're doing a careers in music workshop where we come in and we sort of talk about the different opportunities in music. Music sometimes, a lot of people when they say, my child is thinking about going into music, it's terrifying, there's nothing to do there. But really, I think a lot of the time what happens is the parents and a lot of people in the community, they see only the top musicians, like the ones who are playing the biggest venues like Rogers Arena or something like that in Vancouver. But there's a lot of other jobs that are quite reasonable in between. Whether that's helping write grants for artists to help them with their careers and help them with the production, or whether that's working more on the event coordination side and helping with tours, helping with branding, building websites, etc. Everything is needed, just similar to any business, and it's really great to be able to share how people can use their talents that they were and their gifts and be able to be part of that. So that's just a little bit about the school here. We're now doing a lot of team building events for corporations, as well as small business and organizations. What's kind of fun is rather than bringing in a cover band that is going to be up on stage and having a little bit of separation, it's a lot of fun to be able to come in and have each person coming up, and rather than maybe they've never played an instrument before, we get them on drums, get them playing a beat. We have someone else playing guitar, playing bass, playing piano, someone on the vocals, and we create an interactive live band experience where they are the performance. And we bring a few instructors to help them get to that point where they can perform a few songs, which is really quite fun. And then over here, we're now in Lynn Valley on the North Shore, as well as on Commercial Drive. Our teachers are traveling around to students' houses, as well as we're doing Skype lessons. So that's a little bit about that. My other business, the Bulletins, Nina has had first-hand experience, and I think many of you have as well, for a little bit of jazz. We do have other types of music as well, and the Bulletins, the concept behind it is it's like a bulletin board. People can go to our website, they're like, okay, you know what, I think I would like click, on whichever genre of music they like. But I like jazz today, let's have classic rock, click. And they can see on our website a little bit about our type of music and what we can provide, whether that's having the costumes and vernacular of that genre of music, or whether that's bringing in coming in and playing some funk music, playing funk trombone, the funky saxophone, and a little bit of trumpet as well. So there's a large variety of music that we provide. How this business really started was when I was in school, people would ask us to play shows, and whether they would ask me or ask a friend of mine, it would be like, what should we call our group? Let's call it the Dan, group. Let's call it the Matt group, So from there, we realized we really need to have a brand to get follow-up gigs. So really, that's where this comes from, is to help the musicians that I work with, as well as a lot of the touring artists for the bigger bands. When they come to town, they just went on this amazing tour for a month, 2 months. They played in front of 10, 20,000 people. They come back to town, they're like, oh no, it's the 30th of the month. I gotta pay my rent, And so it's a little bit of a way to help them provide for their families, as well as pay their expenses while they're not on tour. And also when they're recording albums in Vancouver, which we help them out with a little bit as well, then they can keep their talent up and be on stage. Whether that's working on their kicks or something, on stage, or whether that's just performing their craft and improving that. So that's a little bit about the Bulletins. Recent events, St. Jack Nights, a lot of weddings, different clubs, corporate events. Here's Matt Gul here with our testimonial. But yeah, really how I've personally learned as well is when I graduated from university, I still realized that really I didn't know all that much. So I spent time playing shows, and I ended up getting in with a group of musicians who now are settled in Vancouver, between 60 and 85, and really just hanging out with them and them showing me the tips and tricks. They're like, try this. I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing whole career. And that sort of same mentorship is something that we saw avoided in Vancouver. And so through the Bulletins, we're able to take upcoming talented artists who don't have that opportunity to have that mentorship from the older musicians who have experience touring, playing worldwide, and have them play in the same group in the Bulletins and be able to start to get that stage experience so that when their album is finished, they're ready to go on tour. And that's really what the Bulletins is able to do, is to be able to create a great group of musicians who are here in Vancouver and then ready to play shows on their original music as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about the Bulletins. My third business, Beet Events, is an artist and tour management group. Basically, we are providing services for original artists and helping them grow. It's really, when I started, this is sort of the direction I wanted to go, to be able to really help from a coaching perspective artists with their careers. And in 2019, we're also looking at releasing a one-year artist development program that takes artists who have nothing online or no marketing package, and basically getting them to the point where they have a full brand and are able to be booked by high-level talent agents. So we have three services: our artist coaching. We help people get step-by-step from where they are to where they want to be, as well as our per project campaigns. And also our artist management, full 360. Currently, we're mainly focusing on artist coaching and campaign fulfillment. At some point in the near future, I believe we'll be looking a bit more at the artist management as well. But right now, we're sort of not taking any more applications for that aspect. So yeah, that's a little bit about this group. Sort of where it started is I had the opportunity a while ago to work with the Squamish Valley Music Festival, and we had Drake, Mumford & Sons, Sam Smith, all these big top 40 artists. At a stage, I was able to help do a lot of stuff there, and I was like, you know what? I think this could be a pretty fun career, you know? And so back to organic music. This is the main thing that's taking a lot of my time right now. We are working with different corporate, private, and government funding to help us with basically our community work. We still, of course, we make sure our musicians are compensated, and we make sure that we bring in great musicians who are both able to show the musicality side, and also to be able to hopefully inspire the next generation of musicians and mentor them a little bit on site. So this is a video here I'll show you in a second. We have a music kiosk, which we often bring to community events with a whole variety of instruments. We've got the drums, the guitar, acoustic, also the electric guitar, the bass, piano. We bring in some people, they're looking, they're like, oh, I'm not sure, I don't play any instruments. You're like, here, how about you take the cowbell, So it's quite fun, and we're able to bring in a lot of community and people who wouldn't normally work together, be able to share some time and enjoy a great interactive activity. So these are some of the events that, rather than upcoming, these are some of the events that we actually did very recently. Like I was mentioning, the Carnival del Sol, a Car-Free Day. We were just at the Dragon Boat Festival 2 weeks ago as well. Here's some sponsorship levels. This is from a previous presentation. And I was going to say thank you to Matt for becoming a platinum sponsor. He's helping us be able to share more in the community, and so that's really valuable. And thank you, Matt. For here, this is the Brian Adams concert, and this one I think is Brock Elementary as well. So that was really great. Thank you, Matt. And so that's a little bit from another presentation. Who do you know who may be interested in becoming a community music sponsor? If you do know somebody that find benefit, or maybe it fits in their business model as well. That'd be a really great introduction. Here's musician, storyteller, entrepreneur. So I'm not sure what my time is like, but I thought this could be a nice storytelling time of some cool things that have happened in music, as well as some fun stories behind what we're up to. So I'm just going to click right here, see if I can play this video. Let's see here. All right. All right. Well, while that loads for a second. Let's see. Perfect. So here's a bit of a slideshow of sort of what we're up to in the community. Oh, no sound. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, this is sort of some of the cool things, trying ukulele there, teaching some violin. Yeah, this guy here wanted the full-size guitar. He didn't want the children's-size guitar.
Realize some parents may be cursing you after this little exercise. The kids want guitar.
Yeah.
Or drums.
One parent I remember, they're like, what instrument do you recommend your child to try? And the right answer is really whichever instrument they love the most. Because when they try any instrument, it's sort of like a language. When you learn a second language, that's really what music is like. So if you learn one instrument, you can take that learning and really apply it to any other instrument. That's why when you see musicians who are at a high level, a lot of the time when they play one instrument, they can try another instrument and really start to get going on it. And that's because it's really, music is a language, and being able to communicate that. But one funny story is you're right. One parent, they're like, their child really wanted the drums. They're like, hey, you want to take like piano lessons or guitar lessons? They're like, no, I want to take drum lessons. Their parents are like, well, probably maybe they'll take like guitar or piano. And I was like, well, if you can try the electric drum kit, maybe your parents will be okay with that. You can have the headphones, it's very quiet. Your parents are like, no drums, maybe piano. I was like, you know what? How about you try guitar and piano, and then when you move out, you can play the drums. And their parents are like, you know what? That sounds great. So sometimes we have to work a little bit with them to figure that out. But yeah, that's sort of a little bit about a few photos, literally from this weekend. I think we have like a few hundred photos just from working in the community, which is really fun. So I guess a little bit of storytelling behind the name Organic Music. We always get a few people every single kiosk event where they say, organic, what is that? And challenge us a little bit, and that's okay. They can do that. And really, where the name comes from is as the owner, coming up with the name. When I'm in the kitchen, I'm cutting out food, making some salad. I have some food grilling on the stove, and I always turn on loud music in the other room, right? So I'm cooking, putting all the stuff over here, and I get so distracted by the music. I go in there and I start playing the drums, the guitar, the piano, the bass, singing, and I get so much energy from it. It's like it's my nutrition. So that's where the name Organic Music comes from. Yeah.
And then you just forget to eat.
Sometimes. Oftentimes I have, yeah, exactly. Overcooked taste. Yeah. But yeah, that's a little bit about that. How am I on time?
Fine.
Yeah. Oh.
We ask the questions.
Yeah. I was going to say maybe talk to Nina a tiny bit about how she enjoyed the live music in South Vancouver a little while ago.
was
Yeah,
pretty
last
cool.
year, a friend of mine, they
Not that
moved
bad.
sorry. Last year, a friend of mine, they just moved to Vancouver. They bought a nice house, like a castle, yeah, or a resort.
Yeah.
And they are having a
They said park on a tennis court.
yeah, warm-up party,
Yeah.
warm-up house party. And then we invite, we're so lucky to have Dan and his group there. We had so much fun. Yes, we dance and sing. Our group, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did. We had a variety of music that evening, doing classic rock, some pop, some top 40. Also, we did some Chinese songs, which the audience was very happy with. Everyone there was Chinese, and as well as we had the conga line going, and we had one airline pilot. I think he was a pilot of a 757 for Air China, and he came up when we started one of the Chinese songs. He's like, "I sing," and we're like, "Okay, come on up." And because we, with that group specifically, we do live karaoke. So basically, people call a song, and we can play the song, and they sing. So he came up and he sang the Chinese song, and he was very good. He was really good. He sounded great. And then he finished. We played some more. He's like, "One more Chinese song." And so we came up and we're like, okay, the lead singer, he's maybe like 75 years old for that group, and he knows thousands of songs, like tens of thousands of songs. Because when he was a child, how he learned music was he would listen to the radio and he'd write it down, try and figure it out during the song playing at full speed. And then he'd have to wait until the song came back on the radio again. Now the musicians have such an easy time. They just go on Spotify, they go, back it up. You can go on YouTube, slow it down, it's a little cheating. But yeah, so anyway, so he had this, in the depths there, and he brought out, and we ended up having 4 more Chinese songs. So we did 5 Chinese songs, which was really fun. And every time, this airline pilot from Air China, he came up and he sang the songs. So that was really great. And so things like that are really fun. Yeah. Were you saying questions? Yeah.
I always forget to ask Dan, how many events are you planning to, community events, are you planning to do in a year, your forecast?
Yeah, right now, I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Usually we're doing minimum 4 per month, but we've only been doing this more recently, spending a lot more time doing community events. And to give you an idea, last month we were focusing on it quite a bit. We did 15 events, so that's quite a few events. But yeah, this month we've already done 3. So.
I think it's a terrific opportunity to get kids interested and involved at the school level. When we went to school, we were fortunate enough to have the VSO and I was in the Big Olympics Symphony Orchestra would come to the school in small groups, and you get to spend the day with them.
Right.
But this is something quite similar, getting
Yeah.
up close to the instruments.
Yeah. A lot of the public school programs are having less funding in the arts, specifically in music. For example, one school we were at recently, they had their entire strings program cut. So we brought in a violin teacher and brought in a few violins for all the students to try. And we're actually having talks with them on how we can potentially basically start a strings program for them. And so that their children have that opportunity just like they did when they were in school. So yeah, very similar. Yeah.
Dan, you talked about funding. Obviously there is individuals like Matt or corporate funding. Where else do you get grants from? Are the governments involved in that?
Yeah, the government sometimes. It really depends. I'm talking to a few different organizations, Canada Council, Art Starts, etc., that are providing government funding for bringing in certain teachers. But there is a limit to what they provide, and they have to fit into very specific categories. And sometimes what can provide the most value for a school doesn't fit with government organization's mandate. So in those cases, then we work with the PAC to do fundraising, as well as we look at getting private and corporate funding to help supplement that school's program, whether that's reducing the cost per student if they're doing an event, or whether that's just covering our hard costs in staff and in instrument damage, which is actually pretty significant. So we're replacing instruments all the time. But other than that, it really depends on the government program.
Lynn, I think, probably.
One more? Oh, I just had a comment. I want to compliment you on being a creative entrepreneur. You saw a niche, you made a career. That's what all successful entrepreneurs do.
Thank you.
Yeah. And one entrepreneurial opportunity leads to another. That's great. Thanks so much.
Dan, do you have cards?
I do, yes.
I'd like
Yeah.
Dan, I have the pleasure of thanking you on behalf of the club. Thanks for the presentation this morning. It's great to see that innovation and creativity and musicianship, that you can make a good living at it and you can contribute to society. Music's an important part of human culture, and so it's great. So I love the kiosk. That picture right there is a classic one with the little kid with the guitar, and clearly the stereotype I had in my mind of a jazz musician being somebody who stays up late playing and sleeps late is not the case for you. So I think you probably stay up late and get up early at the same time. So I don't know how many professional jazz musicians are like that, but so on behalf of the club, as thanks for you taking the time to be with us this morning. But one of the key activities of the Rotary clubs worldwide is we work towards the eradication of polio. So what we do is an acknowledgement, a thank you for our guest speakers, is we make a contribution on your behalf to Rotary's work to eliminate and eradicate polio across the world. And we're getting close. So on behalf of the club, thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Dan. I brought back incredible memories.